or someone with legal status.
Protect you.
There, depending on the facts, yeah, you can adjust your status through marriage. So it's basically, again, I am not the immigration expert, but you know there are a lot of ways, again, like temporary visas, there are a lot of people here with temporary visas, right? Where there's temporary work visas, student visas. I feel like, don't quote me. I had a sheet of paper at one point, I apologize, Monica was supposed to be here. But just think about basically individuals and family members with whatever they might think of contacting an immigration attorney for. And that's why we have the hotline. Just call and ask us your question and we can help, tell you like, yeah, this is something we could. Here's one, somebody came in and they thought maybe they could do for DACA DAPA, but it turned out the best thing to do is, man, I'm gonna misquote Monica.
I give you an example.
Yes, please
My mother
do.
came here as a visitor, and we've been asking her to get a green card, so we want her to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Now she finally agreed to do that, so she's doing accessory status, status.
Thank
She
you.
is a visitor for a green card.
Exactly, a green card. I was trying to remember this man that came in, and I think we're doing some kind of waiver for him. See, Monica will answer the phone. Hey Monica, it's Helen. We're in the middle of our press conference, and of course our very astute press members are asking me, the worst person here, specific questions beyond DACA DAPA and those that are undocumented. Well, I think it might take too long. I mean, I was just gonna put you on speaker and just for you to say like, what are the typical adjustment of status or types of immigration cases that we could handle here? Okay, let me put you on speaker. Monica?
Yes.
Okay, can you guys hear? Okay, go ahead, Monica.
Hi, yeah, so we can handle typically any type of general family-based immigration type of cases, so marriage adjustment, family members that want to apply for their children abroad or here. We can also do waivers, any type of humanitarian visas, like review visas, subject to domestic violence, or follow-up visas. Those are the kind of general immigration cases that we can handle.
Do you guys have any specific questions?
Yes, so then would it be accurate for me to describe that your new legal service is aiming to help people who for whatever reason cannot afford to go to typical immigration planning?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, Monica, let me just I'll call you back if I need you.
Okay, all right, I'll be on standby.
Okay, thank you.
So do you position yourself as
It's like a safety net or something.
advocacy group, nonprofit advocacy group, or as a low-cost lawyer?
Both.
Yeah, I would say this immigration, our direct legal services, is part of the bigger picture of advocating for the rights of our community. So let me say somebody.
You're not a nonprofit group, are you?
We are nonprofit.
You're a nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit charity of 501c3. We do this for a mission, not for profit, because honestly, as I mentioned before, we're not making any money off of this program. We're trying to just do it long enough so that we can actually find foundations and individuals, like our community hopefully will see, wow, for those that cannot afford to pay for a high-priced attorney, this is important. Or for those that, let me just share a quick story. Maybe I won't show the video, but this is, well, let me show you the video. Oh.
Hello, my name is Stephen Kim, and I've been in the United States since I was 4 years old. Living as an undocumented student has been stressful, watching helplessly as my family suffered through obstacles every day. But when DACA was announced in 2012, everything changed. The fear of finishing high school with nothing but a useless degree began to fade. Fears of the government having all my personal information meant nothing compared to the chance to work and earn something. With DACA, I was able to obtain a driver's license, apply for jobs, but most importantly, it helped me succeed in my studies at Syracuse University. I could experience college without the fear of my undocumented status limiting me. DACA also meant less stress on my parents and more time for me to focus on my studies like everyone else. Don't be left behind. I encourage eligible students to apply for DACA and beware of fraud.
That aired on KTN. I think it's still airing. His name is Stephen Kim. He's undocumented. He got DACA in 2012. He got a full scholarship to Syracuse University along with his sister, Keish Kim. His parents' story is that at one point they did go to an immigration attorney and spent a lot of money for them to adjust their status. I don't know exactly what happened, but from what Keish and Steven said, they were basically scammed. The attorney took their money, never did anything. They never found the attorney. So their family lost the little money that they had saved to get help from an immigration attorney. When they lost that, they just decided to basically give up and go, I would say under Ray, they stopped going to Korean church. Because let's face it, Korean people can be very judgmental. There's a big stigma, right? So Keish and her brother ultimately decided to be more active and vocal. And they agreed to create these special messages to try and encourage other Koreans and other Asian kids not to be afraid and apply for this program because they have a driver license. They can actually get real jobs they're able to travel, get on a plane because they actually have an ID. Raymond, he is a DACA recipient. Raymond is undocumented, not anymore, thankfully, and he successfully applied for the 2012 DACA program. Did your parents get scammed by attorneys or no?
Several attorneys, actually.
Okay.
Throughout the years, my parents have looked to immigration attorneys to help us adjust our status, which is the question that you asked. But they took our money and pretty much went. So my family went into large amounts of credit card debt because of immigration attorneys that have scammed us in the past.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, I'm still undocumented. DACA doesn't provide you with a pathway to legalization.
Right.
It just provides you with a temporary reprieve from deportation.
Right. And one of our biggest goals in terms of advocacy is to advocate for a complete overhaul of the federal immigration laws. That's really what needs to change. Our federal immigration laws, most of those laws are based from 1965. Imagine if you were wearing the same clothes from 1965. You guys, most of y'all weren't even born then. Or driving the same car from 1965. Think about what America looked like in 1965. And that's exactly why there's so many undocumented people in America and the immigration laws don't work, because it's based on the way America looked in 1965. It's just completely, that's why you hear outdated. It's just a law, and many laws get modified, but our immigration laws have not been modified in any significant way. So, our feeling is laws are made to be changed and updated to fit what we need right now economically in terms of our families. And that topic, that issue of immigration has never really been overhauled, but that's why we need our journalists, our community members to understand, and in the meantime take advantage of what is available. So that's, basically our legal services is part of kind of being able to be there on all levels for our community. Yes?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So for the Latinos, the reason we know they're illegal immigrants, maybe sneaking in from Mexico, right? That's why they are undocumented. There's an issue here. For Asians, we don't have that many people smuggled in or.
That's not true. Most of us, so
How do
more.
they fall into that
Right.
situation?
Lots of different ways, but what I'll say is more than 50% estimated, right? Because when you talk about undocumented, we like to use the word undocumented because illegal sounds like they are criminals. But most of the time, if you're out of your status, there's no crime that's involved. So that's why we say undocumented. But more than 50% of all immigrants who are undocumented in America, they came in legally. Meaning they came with a tourist visa, they came with a student visa, they came with some kind of status, and then the status, what do you call it?
Expired.
It expired. So this story that most undocumented people crawled through the desert is actually just, it's a fiction. That's not to say that that story isn't true, but it's a fiction in terms of like, that's how most people get here. More than half. And of course, Asians, how do we get here since we fly in? On a tourist visa, on a visitor visa, on a student visa. There are a lot of, I personally have had so many foreign students, incredibly bright. They want so badly to continue working in America, Chinese students especially. Get out of Emory Law School, get a job at a law firm here, then go back to China, because just getting a degree and going back to China is not enough. They need some law firm experience here. But the student visa and the work temporary visa process is so difficult. Many of our foreign students are educated here, and then they have to go straight back. Right. And many of those students may choose to decide to forget it. I'm too ashamed to go back. I'm just going to stay and lose my status. So we estimate that about 1.5 million Asians in America are undocumented.
1.5 million.
Roughly 10% of all Asians living in America do not have legal status. And that's about the same here in Georgia. Oh, I wish I had that slide. We have about 40,000, I would guess, 40,000 undocumented Asians in Georgia.
How do you know that? Who does that mean?
Census.
How does one know that?
Again, it's like American Community Survey and
Yeah.
Census. Let me follow up, because I'm just guesstimating. If it's not on a slide in front of me, I forget the number. But we know there's about 360 to 400,000 Asians living in Georgia, so I was just thinking about 10%. Actually, I think we have a higher number of undocumented than 40,000. But it's based on like the American Community Survey census data.
If I could get in there, I could dig in there and get more numbers.
Can you give us the demographic report? Let's give a copy to each of our.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we have our organization published a special like demographic report, and of the South, Atlanta is one of those cities, so it gives a lot of that information in this booklet, and I'd like to give one to you. Do you guys have any other questions? So HB, I think you're right. So I'm getting too technical, but yes, our goal is to provide direct legal services and help for those, principally those who may not be able to afford a private attorney, right? Or just might trust us more, but it's principally for low income. And it's not just limited to Asian people. Of course, we're focused on making sure we're most accessible to Asian immigrants and refugees, but we won't turn anyone away. If they're Hispanic, that's why we have a Spanish language line. If they're an African immigrant, if they're from Bosnia, our services are open to, all people. But if there was someone who needed our help, and it's not because they're financially poor, but they've been screwed so many times, so they just feel like, I would rather trust you guys, we may handle that situation too. We're not limited. Some of the social service groups, because they get government funding, they can only serve people that meet. So we're not exactly that, but our goal is, of course, those that need financial help.
But it's also to be a trusted source, since
Yeah.
there is so much sort of endemic fraud.
There is. There's a lot of fraud. We've seen stories come out even in English language press. There was a Korean, but there's a Korean immigration female attorney that was, this was a couple of years ago. Remember they raided her, and basically she had been telling people that if they paid her $35,000 flat or some high amount, she would guarantee that she could legalize them, and she was thrown in jail, And in the Latino community, they call them notarios, like notary publics, that say, well, we can do all of this immigration work, and so they're good. There are a lot of great attorneys, and assistance, but we just want to make sure that there's an alternative. Do you want to add anything else, Sarah? Am I missing something?
No, I think that's right, and there's some information in your press packets as well, but, you know, our goal is really not to, well, I should say our goal is really to complement kind of the great attorneys that are out there already. We're not trying to, you know, redo the wheel or anything, but there's a good segment of people, I think, that don't, you know, I just think the awareness of DACA, even just shown by the statistics, as Helen said, it was over, you know, 80% of qualified Latino children have applied for DACA, but that number is less than 20% of the Asian American community. So there's an education gap here, and there's also a services gap in terms of, you know, if you can't pay, which a good number of people can't afford an attorney, there's all these nonprofits for Latinos that will do it for free, and there's no one doing it in the for Asians. So that's why we started. We're not trying to take away people who can actually pay for a lawyer and have a good lawyer.
Yeah.
We don't want them. We want the people who want a second check, you know, if they call us, we can just be a reference and be like, this attorney's saying she wants $35,000, she can guarantee us. They
Yeah,
can
that's
just
true.
call us and we can give them a reference and, you know, just point them in the right directions or say, no, that's
Yeah.
right, go in that direction. Or they can call us and be, you know, I can't afford this, but, you know, I just want a consultation, I don't know what my options are.
Right.
Because the immigration laws are so complicated, they're like a puzzle. And there's no clear answer, you know, like Helen said, sometimes there's special visas for special situations and other ways over here, so you really need a qualified immigration attorney to be able to look over your options for that, so.
Yeah, and that would be Monica.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even if they come in, like, one consultation, so there's no, like, oh, we're not gonna, oh, you come and meet with us now, so now you have to be with us forever. It's not like that. They can come in for a consultation, and the most the consultation will cost is $50, you know? So our goal is to, again, our goal is to just be able to keep doing this, to make the program sustainable in some way as a not-for-profit. That's our goal. And, you know, maybe later, when our community really sees the value of this and we can fundraise around it, all the services are 100% free. But right now, we're just trying to at least cover, like, photocopy and mailing, you know, just kind of some of the basic costs. And then, you know, start, just like all of our programs start, and then hopefully fundraise around it.
And we
Build
forgot to
trust.
mention too, we have the phone line, which is open 24 hours, but we also have the email address. If some people feel more comfortable sending an email in Chinese, sending an email in
That's
Vietnamese, we operate that email address, the immigration at advancingjustice-atlanta.org.
Oh, and I also
I
want to say,
find it hard to believe with his Raymond story, you know. How could you count by a lawyer? And they're registered with the Bar Association, right?
No,
You
well,
can find them,
sometimes,
right?
sometimes they're not lawyers. There was
they pretend to be lawyers.
There was an
Not real
incident
lawyers?
in the Korean community not too long ago where a man was not a lawyer at all, and you know, and he was posing as a lawyer essentially. And then we have the actual lawyers who are registered part of the bar, and they, you know,
But they may not
They're not
actually be experienced in immigration
Right.
law. That's one. A third thing is, they are barred, but they do terrible things, and maybe they're not ethical. The thing is, there's not really a lot of punishment on the other side. The Bar Association is not the police. You know, there's very little ways for a client who has basically been defrauded. Do you agree? I mean, I don't think
I agree.
there's not a
They'd be
lot.
so vulnerable.
Exactly.
So they even bring
Yeah.
And I think what Helen's trying to say, in the case of the woman who was charging $35,000, even if the government took that person, charged them with a crime, put them in jail, I still can't get that $35,000 back.
Right.
And the government can't get it back either. It's
Right.
really hard after you do that to seize the money that was given. So we think the best option, or the best strategy, is just on the front end, tell people you've got to be careful. And like I said, we really want to emphasize, we're trying to complement the excellent 99.9% of excellent lawyers out there, but we've heard enough stories of people getting defrauded that we want to make this known, and we hope as journalists you can help
Most of
make
the
that
people
known.
that come to us, it is because they have been taken advantage of more than once, or they just don't have the finances. They barely can put enough money together for the fees. So, and they trust us, or they just trust us and they feel like, well, you know, Helen and the attorneys there, they're, you know, like I trust them, so.
So for the people who have been screwed and have like a clear documented evidence that their lawyers screwed them up, is there a legal path for them to kind of go back to where they started?
Not in terms of their immigration.
Oh.
They do have a claim for malpractice against that attorney,
This is a civil.
if that person's an attorney.
Yeah, but that's not the kind of stuff we're gonna
Well,
handle, well,
we
you
wanna
know,
hear the
We can help
stories,
them
though.
with that.
Right.
Well, but still, have them come to us, because we can refer them to attorneys we trust for the
Yeah.
malpractice suit. And we can refer them to law firms that have, you know, people of certain languages.
I mean, at the end of the day, everything is very fact specific with immigration. I mean, we couldn't possibly answer if this person had this, it's so fact dependent. But I will say too, honestly, I mean, the flip side of a bad attorney is a bad client. I know that there are people that are like, they know that they probably, that their limits, their options are limited. So they try to find an attorney that will say what they wanna hear, right? Like, you get me this result, and I will pay you whatever money that you want, and I want this result. Those people should definitely not come to us, because we will tell you in truth, as experienced attorneys, whether it's what the feasibility is. There's no amount of money that will get us to maybe try and, you know, try something that honestly is not really, you know, ethical, you know, in our opinion. You know, some people, maybe there aren't really any options. I hate to say that, but if that's the case, they will hear it from us. We're just trying to be a credible, honest, you know, legal source that people over time will be able to, I mean, people obviously trust us in terms of like the policy work that we do. And we're just trying to expand now in terms of these legal services around immigration, especially because we've just heard one too many